तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः. Let us resume our discussion on Sri Ramakrishna's spiritual discourses with his intimate devotees at his residence in the temple premises of Dakshineshwar on a Sunday afternoon dated 26th of October 1884. This appears in the 13th chapter of the first volume of the original Bengali presentation, Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita, 113.6, and in chapter 101 of the second volume of the Hindi translation, Sri Ramakrishna Vacharamrit, 201 and 6, and under chapter 33 of the chronologically presented English rendering, the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Since we are meeting after 3 weeks, because on the 3rd we had spiritual retreat, on the 10th we had Holy Mother's birth anniversary celebration. Let us recapitulate the salient points discussed in this section. Sri Ramakrishna was reconciling the two different representations of the divine. One is the eternal and the other is the reality, that which appears before us, the transient, the temporary. We are in the world around us whose existence cannot be denied, but which is constantly changing. Pratikshana parivartanshil. So naturally the question comes in our mind, is there anything which is permanent? And the seers, the rishis, they say yes. Though the world is changing, but behind this world we have the unchangeable eternal God, which never changes, which is ever existing. So naturally our attention converges on a realization of the God, which is changeless, eternal. And that's how our spiritual pursuits begin. First we get bewildered by these variety of changes presented in this world. We get attracted to this world. We want to hold on this world. But when I find that in the world everything is slipping away, never stays permanently, then our attention is diverted to the changeless divine and our spiritual journey begins. So naturally the mind or the attention becomes more and more to the changeless God and less to the changeful world. So we gradually become less and less interested in the world outside us and more interested for the God within or the God behind this world. So the lack of interest or detachment from the external world or the world around us is called vairagyam, anasakti, detachment, which is a prelude for feeling attraction towards God or bhakti or anurakti. Vishaya Virakti is another name of Ishvara Anurakti. Detachment to the world is a synonym of attachment to God. So when a person has reached the divine, has realized the eternal God, then for that person this changeful world becomes redundant. Now Sri Ramakrishna is bringing a wonderful harmony which is in consonance with our scriptures, that acceptance of the divine does not necessarily imply denial of the world. It's an interesting topic. Though we feel disinterested for the world, and we proceed towards the God within, the eternal God. But Sri Ramakrishna points out that when a person reaches the divine, then to his dismay he finds that this world is no other than another manifestation of the same divine, which he was negating so far. You have to deny the world in order to reach God. But once you meet God, reach God, realize that state, then that person realizes that what he left behind was no other than God, which he could not comprehend. So the world we see as world is false. But after realization of God, we do not see the world as world. We see the world as manifestation of God, and that world becomes real. So world remains as it is. World does not change. Our outlook changes. So then we find the world around us is a play of the divine. That is called Leela, divine play. But the world, after it is transcended in the depth of our ultimate realization, everything merges into God. And that state is called Nitya, eternal. So the eternal God is no other than the changeful world. This is the reconciliation. And Sri Ramakrishna quotes from the scriptures. In scriptures there is a wonderful example is given. They look at the spider. The spider takes out its saliva from inside and builds a net in which the spider resides. And when it doesn't want to stay in the net anymore, then it consumes the net itself and takes it within. Then the net vanishes, the spider remains. Similarly, God, whenever He wishes to become many, creates this world and remains within. It's not that He vanishes. Creates this world and remains within. And when the play is over, then it consumes the world inside and becomes one. So the one changeless God becomes many changeful gods. So another example is given like a potter. Potter makes various pots out of clay. They have different names and forms, different sizes. But he can also break all the clay models, then becomes clay again. Here there are two entities. Potter is the maker and clay is the material. So potter is the creator and clay is the material. The clay is the material cause and potter is the instrumental cause. Nimitta karan and upadan karan. Whereas in the example of the spider, the creator is spider and material also was taken out from spider in itself. So it is both the instrumental cause and material cause. Nimitta karan and upadan karan. So God is both material cause and instrumental cause. He is the creator and He created this world out of itself. So the material from which He created this world is called Prakriti and the creator is Purusha. But as we discussed in the Sankhya philosophy, which Thakur narrated a little while ago in this conversation, so whenever there is a combination of Purusha and Prakriti, the creation happens. Prakriti is the material which is jada, inert. But it cannot turn into this world until it is connected with Purusha, the consciousness. So when Purusha and Prakriti gets united, then this world starts in the creation. In Sankhya philosophy says, Purusha and Prakriti are eternally separate. Jad cannot be Chetan. Matter and consciousness are different. But Vedanta philosophy goes one step forward. It says if God is infinity, then there cannot be two infinities existing. They must both converge into one. So Sri Ramakrishna endorses this view, saying there cannot be anything other than God. So this matter or Prakriti, what we are seeing, is also a part and parcel of God. As a spider creates this web out of its own saliva and remains there, similarly God has created all this matter and remains in the world as conscious. So the different conscious beings are no other than the deflections of the divine. So they are not to be denied. They are the manifestations of God. But this knowledge must dawn, and that will come only after we have touched the divine. So Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of a wave of a sea. This is also quoted in the scriptures. Now when I see there are a lot of waves, samudra mein tarang hota hai. The sea doesn't have any form. It's a vast sheet of water. But when the waves are formed, the bubbles are formed, they have different shapes, different sizes, different names. They rise and fall. They are vibrant, they are visible. But these waves do not have permanent existence. It is created and is dissolved. But the person who has seen the sea, then he can realize the waves were generated from the sea and were dissolved in the sea. The waves got vanished, but the sea remained as it is. God remains always. The creation rises from Him and gets dissolved from Him. So whomsoever we see around us is a manifestation of God. It has a temporary existence. It came from God, will go back to God. We feel it is lost. It is not lost. It has gone back to the source. God is always with us. His manifestations are acquainted with us and they will ever remain with us. So if you see anything as the wave, it has a temporary existence. But if we see it as a part of the sea, it is never lost, it is always there. This is divinization of our everyday experience. God is present all around us. So this belief, faith, becomes more and more strong as we approach the divine. And when we have touched the feet of God in His eternal form, then the knowledge becomes permanent. Sri Ramakrishna gives another example here, tries to make it understand in our perception. Sthul, Sukshma, Karan, Mahakaran. Sthul means gross, which we interact in our conscious level. I told you mind has 4 levels. So when we are in a conscious level, Jagrata Avastha, then we interact with the world in some way. When you sleep, the mind goes in the Swapna Avastha, dream state, in subconscious level. Then also we experience something in subconscious level. And we go to deep sleep in the unconscious state, then we only experience that state, but we don't remember anything because it was unconscious. So that is Sthul, Shukshma, Karan, gross, subtle and causal, Chetan, Avachetan, Achetan, conscious, subconscious, unconscious. These 3 belong to the domain of Leela. They are changeful. Our period of wakeful state is temporary. It goes back and forth, wakeful state and dream state. And the deep sleep state. So behind these, there is the 4th state, which is Mahakarana, Turiya, Jagrat, Sapna, Shushupti and Turiya. Conscious, subconscious, unconscious and superconscious. That is permanent. That never changes. That is the level of Ati Chetan. That is the state of Nitya. When our mind rises in the superconscious level, then we realize God in the Nitya form. Having realized God in the Nitya form, when we come down to our conscious level, then we see the same God in the form of Leela. We see the God, not as world, but as a different manifestation of God. World remains same, our vision changes, perception changes, reactions change. For that, it is necessary to rise to the superconscious level, and then we come down, then we are able to understand this world as a manifestation of divine. Sri Ramakrishna gives an example that when you rise to the roof with a flight of stairs, then you have to leave the stairs one after another in order to rise to the roof. If we remain in the staircase, we will never be able to rise to the roof. So we rise to the staircase by leaving one step after the other. In order to rise to the higher step, we must leave the lower step. So by crossing all the steps, when we reach the top, the roof, then to our dismay we find that the material of the roof, cement, stone chips, etc., brick, was the same material with which the steps are built. Both are same. So having realized God, having attained to the Nitya state, when we come down, then we find the same God is present around us. Jatra jatra netra pade, tatra tatra Krishna sphure. Wherever he looks, he sees God and God alone. Sri Ramakrishna was worshipping Mother Kali. When he realized Mother Kali in this superconscious level, and when he came down to the conscious level, he sees Mother in the cat. He sees a prostitute and addresses Mother, you are in this form before me. He sees divine and divine only. There is nothing rejectable by him, nothing to be denied. The world appears as a place of joy, place of fulfillment. A continuous divine accompaniment. So now Sri Ramakrishna says that the same God who was manifest in the form of the eternal nature, Nitya, the same God appears as many for his divine play. In the scriptures also it is narrated in the same way. And God comes from the unmanifested to the manifested, and from manifested to the unmanifested. So here this analogy has been given, and he gave another example of the sound of Om, which we discussed. Sri Ramakrishna says that when you strike a bell, sounds like tom. There is no sound. When the bell is struck, there is a sound and gets elongated for the sound. Like the beginning of creation and continuance of creation, and finally dissolution of creation. From the wave starts from the sea, rises and then dissolves. The sea remains forever. Now, we have to understand that there is nothing beyond God. In the Kathopanishad, it has been mentioned, Indriyebhyah parahyartha arthebhyasya parang manaha manasastu para buddhihi buddhiratma mahan paraha. From our indriyas, sense organs, subtle, more subtle it is the Sukshma Bhut, Artha, and from there subtler is the mind, and more subtle is the Mahat, subtler is Abhyakt, and finally it is Purusha, God. There is nothing beyond God. It is the Supreme Being. So God gets manifested to enjoy this world. This world is not a place for misery. This world is a place of joy, provided we see it as a manifestation of God. When we see the world as the world, then we get befooled. We have to see the world connect with God, then it becomes ever permanent for us. This is the section Sri Ramakrishna is telling in this part, and he says, I have seen in my experience these variances, not that I have read it. Now, our problem in this world is this: we get overpowered by various desires, and desires lead to action, and action leads to restlessness. We want to be quiet, we want to be calm, we want to be happy, but our happiness gets disturbed when various desires overpower us automatically. And desires lead to action, action leads to restlessness. So spiritual aspirants wish to get rid of the desires. That is the entire secret of spiritual pursuit. Sri Ramakrishna says that desires will be annihilated only when you touch the feet of God. Once you taste the Brahmananda, then Vishayananda will become insipid. It doesn't vanish. It will not be able to attract it anymore. As been said in Bhagavad Gita, there is no harm in having worldly desires. But the difficulty is, worldly desires is temporary. So when we replace it with the divine pleasure, it is permanent. That's why the pursuit should be to sublimate the worldly desires into divine desires. There is no harm to try to be happy, but let us learn the art of remaining happy forever. We are happy, but temporarily, because we want to be happy with the worldly desires, worldly objects, worldly subjects. They are temporary. Since we want to be happy, let us try to be happy forever. Let us try to aspire to have that desire, that joy, which is unending. There is nothing more than that. Jam labdhva chaparam labham manyate nadhikam tataha. Jasmin sthiti nadukkhena gurunapi vichalyate. Tam vidya dukkha samyoga viyogam. Sanishchayana yuktebhyo yoga nirminnati chetasa. In Bhagavad Gita it says, there is something joy, some pleasure available, which is second to none. There cannot be anything beyond that. How do you know? Because if you have a taste of that joy, then you get an inner conviction. No one need to tell you that this is God. You are full, you are satiated forever. All your doubts cease. You need not ask anybody whether this is I have seen correctly or not. Because you know in the core of your heart, this is maximum, this is God. As Sri Ramakrishna gives the story, that a person wanted to see the king and he went with a guide. And the guide was taking him from one door to the other. And at each door, the person met with an officer, very, very well decorated, well looking. He went on asking, "Is this the king?" He said, "No, king is behind. Let us proceed." So one after another he crosses the gates and he sees more and more wonderful people. Ultimately, when he goes the face of God, he doesn't ask anything. Then himself says, "Here is the king. I have seen him." So all our questions cease. Vidyate hridaya grantihi, chidyante sarva samshayaha, shiyante chasya karmani, tasmin drishti paravare. That will happen only when we see drishta paravara, that param. So Sri Ramakrishna saying, people ask me how to get rid of the worldly desires. I tell them, direct your attention to God. When you will be able to see God, your desires will fall automatically. You can never get rid of desires. If you try to force the desires out, they will not leave you. Let us not have that pursuit. Let us try to reach the feet of the God, and the desires, worldly desires, fall automatically. Raso varjam rasapyasya param dishtva nivartate. In Bhagavad Gita says, Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha. The person who wants to fly away, get away from the desires, he cannot. His mind will rover. Physically he may be away, but his mind will hover over the desires. But once he sees the God, param drishtva, when he sees the God, sees the divine, sees the eternal, in the turiya state, superconscious state, then the worldly desires fall off automatically, along with the interest, thirst of desire. He is satiated once for all. That's why Sri Ramakrishna is drawing our attention not to remain in the physical, subtle or causal state alone. Let us try to see God in its entirety, and then we may travel in whatever level we wish, either in the superconscious or in the conscious or in subconscious. Everywhere the same God will be seen and realized and enjoyed. We'll continue further in our next Sunday class. Niranjanam nityam anantamupam bhaktanukampādhrita vigraham vai Ishāvataram parameshamidhyam tam Ramakrishnam shirasa namama. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Let us close with the chanting of the divine. Please join with me. Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om. Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari Om Ramakrishna Hari